Hello everyone, Tmmgamer, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another one of my football talk videos. And today there is only one topic that I can talk about really, and that is the unfortunate truth that England are now officially out of the World Cup. Obviously we lost yesterday to Uruguay 2-1, and today Italy lost to Costa Rica 1-0. So now officially there is no way England can go through. And last night everybody was running the permutations through their head, all the possible scenarios that would enable us to go through. But unfortunately, for an England point of view, Italy didn't hold up their part of the bargain, and they've been defeated by arguably the team of the tournament so far, Costa Rica. You know, Costa Rica are currently sitting top of the group, ahead of three former World Cup winners, which is a massive achievement for them. And you've got to say fair play. They've come out, they did an absolute number on Uruguay in the second half, and then today they just out-fought Italy and deservedly won 1-0. And you gotta just put your hands up in the air and say fair play to them. You know, they have turned up when it mattered most and performed to the best of their ability, and that's all you can ask of a team at a World Cup. And they've got results which I'm sure will, you know, top pretty much anything that nation's ever done on the footballing stage. So fair play. But let's talk now about England. And England, unfortunately, haven't exactly set the world alight. But I'm going to be arguing something here that possibly might not be very popular, and you know, might not be the way a lot of people will initially react. Because I'm going to argue caution here that we shouldn't sack Roy Hodgson. We shouldn't get all overblown and go too far. In that, you know, realistically, looking at this group, when this group was drawn, everybody said this could have happened. Because at the end of the day, we have not crashed out to Estonia or some mediocre team. We've been beaten by two teams in the top 8 of the FIFA World Rankings. That's who we've lost to. We've lost to Italy and we've lost to Uruguay. In the first game against Italy, every single neutral out there said England were right in that game. And to be honest, I think a draw would have been a fair result. You know, we created a lot of chances, we had a lot of the ball, we played good attacking football, and everybody after the game said it was one of the best performances England have had in a long, long time. But unfortunately, we lost because of chances missed. You know, the difference at the highest level is execution, because there's a lot of world-class players on show at this tournament, and England certainly have a couple. You know, we've got Wayne Rooney, and I think Wayne Rooney gets far too much stick. He really does. He gets far too much stick. You know, in the first game, he provided an absolutely fantastic cross for our goal, playing in a position he blatantly doesn't like. And then in the second game, you know, he scored a good goal, looked lively. You know, was one of our better players on the night. So I think he has a bit too much criticism sent his way. The second game against Uruguay, admittedly, we didn't play particularly well. But again, if you look at that game from a neutral's point of view, did Uruguay dominate us? Absolutely not. You know, we had our chances. We were unlucky. Rooney hit the bar again. Rooney possibly could have scored when he shifted the ball nicely onto his left foot, but unfortunately hit it quite close to the keeper. Then he took his goal nicely after some good work from Glenn Johnson. And at the end of the day, we have conceded 2 goals from one defensive mistake from Phil Jagielka, a defensive mistake from Steven Gerrard where he mistimed his jump and the header, and then they were scored by the best striker in the world at the moment. And I don't think you can deny that. As an out-and-out striker, Luis Suarez is the best in the world right now. Wingers, Ronaldo's the best, and I still see Ronaldo as an unbelievable goal-scoring winger as opposed to a straight out-and-out striker. So when you look at it that way, in reality, England's tournament hasn't been as bad as it looks. You know, obviously, crashing out of the group is never a good thing, and you know the stat that's get rolled out a lot is it's the first time we've gone out of the group since the 1950s. But don't forget, England have failed to reach a World Cup a couple of times since then. So, you know, that's a stat which glosses over the unfortunate reality that England haven't qualified a few times. And you can't get knocked out of the group stages if you're not even at the tournament. So that's one of those stats which is slightly misleading. But you know, we've got all of these people calling for Roy Hodgson's head, and I don't think that would do us any favours whatsoever. And you know, everybody has said that Roy Hodgson picked a good squad of players. Roy Hodgson played Raheem Sterling, he played Welbeck, he played Daniel Sturridge, he played all the form players, he played Jordan Henderson in midfield. You know, he took Leighton Baines. You know, everybody said, oh, you know, we should take Luke Shaw. You know, Luke Shaw, great young defender. He took him. You know, when Roy Hodgson announced that 23 players, everybody said, yeah, good squad. When Roy Hodgson announced the starting 11, everybody said, yeah, that's a good starting 11. The only thing people complained about was Wayne Rooney on the left. But he did that in a game because he thought that was the best way England could win. And who was our best player on the night in that game? Raheem Sterling. And where did Raheem Sterling play? That number 10 role where Wayne Rooney prefers. But on the night, Raheem Sterling was our best player. So again, you're going to have to say that Roy Hodgson got it right with that selection. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, the execution on the night was what cost us. And in the second game, you know, he played Rooney in the middle and Sterling wide. And Rooney was probably our best player on the night. And Sterling had a slightly off game. But hey, he's 19 years old. He's not going to play brilliantly every week. That's something you've got to live with. And again, you know, nobody really could have argued with the selection that Roy Hodgson made. You know, when you actually look at the last World Cup, which was in South Africa, England were absolutely atrocious in that World Cup. Atrocious. They really, really were. And we scraped through the group in the most unconvincing way I have ever seen, and then we got mullered by the Germans, and that was our World Cup. And I was much, much more disappointed with that than I am today. And don't get me wrong, I'm pretty disappointed. You know, I had high hopes for us in this World Cup. I thought, do you know what? We go in there with a good group of young players. We've got a lot of people in that team who are exciting to watch, and we'll give it a go. And in the end of the day, that's what we did. We did do that. But unfortunately, the results didn't go our way. And, you know, like Steven Gerrard said after the first game, if you're happy about losing, you're not a real sportsman, you're not a real competitor. And I'm not happy that we've been knocked out. But realistically, it's just one of those things. The worst thing in this country is the media. And you know, the media does a lot of good stuff, don't get me wrong. We've got a free press, it's excellent. I'd much rather have a free press than a not free press. But the English football media has a tendency to build players up hugely, and then as soon as that one bad performance or that one bad time or one bad tournament, they absolutely pillory them, and there's no middle ground. And I think this is a time where we need a calm middle ground. You know, if let's hypothetically say we sack Roy Hodgson, what benefit is that going to do us in the long run? Who are we going to get as a manager? You know, all of the great managers of Europe are occupied, and let's be brutally honest, how many of the great managers of Europe are going to come wanting to manage England? You know, when Jose Mourinho's wife advises him against managing England, you know that possibly the England job isn't the most appealing for the reasons why I've mentioned. You know, I have done in this series of Football Talk several videos where I have talked about how the Premier League is hurting the English game. And this is the real root of the problem. Because when you've got a manager who... Roy Hodgson is a very, very good coach. You know, he has made his money by getting the best out of players at, you know, middle of the road clubs. He did it at Fulham, he did it at West Brom, he's done it every other international team he's managed. You know, he's managed a huge range of international teams and got the best out of an average set of players. So you can't call into question Roy Hodgson's motivational skill or his man management or his tactical ability, because he finds a way to get the best out of the players. And you know, we saw evidence of that in the qualification campaign in, you know, the game against Italy. You know, he's gone out there with a system that made us play the best we've played in an international for a long, long time. And like I mentioned, it was just the odd individual error, the odd bit of luck, the odd missed chance that meant on the night we lost. But again, that was a good performance. That wasn't Roy Hodgson losing us a game through playing Joe Hart up front and Wayne Rooney at left back, was it? And this is the thing, if we just go out and sack Roy Hodgson, nothing will change, because he will just have been made the scapegoat for all of our footballing travails. And when we actually dispassionately look at English football, there is only one culprit here. And I've mentioned this before in several of my videos, but it's the Premier League. You cannot have your national league where such a tiny percentage of players are eligible for the national team and then complain when the national team doesn't play very well. We have had situations recently where Championship Jay Bothroyd has been given a cap because there are not enough talented English players playing in England, or around the world for that matter, to warrant selection. You know, Roy Hodgson is picking from an incredibly narrow pool of players, an incredibly narrow pool. And he has picked players that the vast majority of the country wanted him to pick. So again, like I've said, who else could he have picked, really? He could have possibly picked Michael Carrick, but would Michael Carrick have won us the World Cup? Not particularly. Who else could he could have had Ashley Cole in. Ashley Cole, you know, you couldn't have complained if he'd picked Ashley Cole and left Luke Shaw at home, but Leighton Baines was always going to start. So, would that have really changed us, or changed our fortunes in the World Cup? No. So, we were in a situation here where the manager's picked this team that people wanted, he's picked the squad that people wanted, he's played attacking football, and you know, against Uruguay, we were basically just battled off the ball at times. You know, we were mullered off it at times, but again, we were still better than we were in South Africa. And I don't care. Like I said this at the start of the tournament. I would much rather England actually go to a tournament and give it a go and lose than scrape through to the last 16 playing just atrociously and then get smacked around by a good team. You know, we narrowly lost to two fantastic sides with world-class players. And the first game was very unlucky, and in the second game, if we would have got a point, nobody would have batted an eyelid. And it's just one of those things. At the very, very highest level, execution is what matters. But that's the thing. Going back to my point about the Premier League, we can't get this high-class execution because when you've got under 30% of players playing in the Premier League who are actually English, what else can you do? We have got a league and an FA which has money coming out of every single orifice. Yet we have a fraction of the trained coaches that the Spanish do or the Germans do. And yeah, Spain got embarrassed and got knocked out in the group. But hey, they've won the last 3 international tournaments, so they're allowed an underperformance at some point. When's the last time England got to a semi-final? Since 1966, we've got to 2. Is that really good enough? No. Why is this so? Is it because of Roy Hodgson? No chance. Is it because of the Premier League and too many foreign players and not enough coaching and not enough facilities at grassroots level? You bet it is. So sacking Roy Hodgson is going to accomplish absolutely nothing. If this country is serious about being a world international standard footballing nation and a force to be reckoned with and a team that people are actually scared of playing, those are the things we have to do. We have to go out and spend money on facilities. We have to get top quality English coaching. We have to get more English players playing in the highest level. I mean, the foreign players are excellent. Yeah, I'm all for seeing Sergio Aguero and Yaya Toure and Robin van Persie turn out in the Premier League. But am I equally happy to see Sasha Richter play? I don't think so. Are you telling me, in a country of 50 million, we can't find somebody who's better than Sasha Richter at right back? And this is the thing, you know, instead of spending a bit of time, money and effort on training up a young Englishman to play in that position, teams just go out and pluck a foreigner up for $1 million. You know, and this is the problem. And whenever we do actually get talented young players or players with potential, they never play. Just look, for example, is it Tom Carroll at Spurs? Good young player. How many games has he played? You can count them on one finger. Loaned out to the Championship, loaned out again and again. All of a sudden, these players are 20, 21, 22. They're no longer young players. They haven't built on the potential because they haven't been given a chance. And then they're just offloaded. And you read about them 4 years' time, and they're turning out for Bristol City. And this is what happens in England. And it's a crying shame. And this is why we lose in international tournaments. There's no other way to say it. This is why we lose. So, for all you people who originally thought sacking Roy Hodgson would be a good idea, think where you need to actually direct your fury, because being angry and being disappointed is the right thing to be in this situation. But Roy Hodgson is not the fault. Roy Hodgson is not to blame for this situation because he has gone in a difficult situation with a limited group of players in a very, very tough group, and he has not had the resources necessary to win. And there's only one reason why that is, and it's the Premier League, and it's the lack of funding, and all of that stuff which I've explained. So, we're at a crossroads now, and this is the same thing every single international tournament, and like Chris Waddle said, we never learn. This nation is far, far too parochial and short-sighted, and it never deals with the issues at hand. Far, far too much money is frittered away on award dinners and ceremonies and tours and all this balls when we are crying out for coaching and facilities. And we have the richest football league in the world, the richest league, and we cannot scrape together enough funding to ensure young kids don't play on a muddy, waterlogged crap hole in some disused, abandoned community centre which is fallen into disrepair, and the showers don't work and the facilities are broken. And that is the absolute tragedy of this situation, and that is why we lose international tournaments. If you look at why Spain has had so much dominance, and yeah, they've crashed out, but so what? If you look at why Germany is the international powerhouse, it's because they have more coaches than us, they have better facilities, they have more opportunities for their young players, and that translates into a good international team. It's not rocket science. For once, I want us not to take the easy road, which is blame Roy Hodgson. For once, I want us to actually go out there and do something which will help this national team improve, which is all the things I've mentioned. So for once, media, fans, don't sit there and pillory Roy Hodgson. Pillory the FA. Do it to the Premier League, because those are the people who are actually hurting us as a national team. When you see England get knocked out of a World Cup at a group stage, think why. Why is that the case? It's not Roy Hodgson's fault. It is the fault of the FA and the Premier League and all of the reasons I've mentioned. So guys, thank you so much for listening. As always with these videos, I am genuinely interested to hear what you have to say, because this is a topic I actually have quite a lot of passion about. And if you sit here and listen to this full video, I don't think you'd be any doubt about that. You know, that I desperately want us to do well, and I'm not happy we've been knocked out of the group. But it's not Roy Hodgson's fault. It definitely isn't Roy Hodgson's fault. This country needs to have a good hard look at why we suck at football and actually go out and deal with it. And this is the thing that annoys me most. You know, we have the ability to deal with it, but we choose not to. And it's the choices we make now as a footballing nation that will affect what happens when we get to 2020. If Greg Dyke is actually serious about us actually having a chance of winning in 2020, we tell you need to get your fingers out your backsides, you need to get your checkbook out, you need to get some more coaches, you need to get better facilities, and you need to stop these clubs signing these foreign players for nothing instead of playing a talented youngster who could actually one day be the difference in an England v Germany final, or even in a quarter-final. Hey, it would just be nice to get through occasionally and have a good pool of players to choose from. So once again, thank you so much for listening to the video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. And as always, have a great day.